Today, we're going to talk about goal setting. That is a request that I've gotten about how to set life goals. And I really enjoy this topic because so many people do it wrong. And for most of my life, I did it wrong. What I did is that I did the same everyone else did because that I thought that was the only way to set goals. But then I realized I'm not driven by output goals. Some people are, and if you're driven and motivated by output goals, then it's a great way for you to do goal setting. If you set up a big and daring and motivating goal for yourself and you think this output is exactly what I want in my life, and that fires you up enough for you to just chase that goal, please go ahead and continue doing that. If output goals work for you, that is amazing. Output goals don't work very well for me. I'm more of an input goal kind of person. But what I mean by that is that I'm much more driven by figuring out what do I need to put into my life in order to achieve the life that I want. So here, just reading the chat as I go. Goal setting is amazing. Remember last time we talked about how you're going to share your life experiences so that can be even more interactive. That is true. I did promise to share more of my life experiences. So I'm going to do that today as well, talking about some of the goals that I've had and some of the reasons that it didn't work for me. As I mentioned, input goals are way more effective for me. So what I do when it comes to input goals is that I imagine what is the kind of daily life that I want. What do I want my daily life to look like in the future? And then who do I need to become a match to that life? And what does that person do in my daily life? So that would be, my inputs would be way more about waking up at 4:30, which I do these days. I wake up at 4:30. I have kind of a slow morning before I reach the gym at around 6 a.m. I go to the gym, I spend an hour or two there, get back home, get my protein shake, and then I get my day started. Because I knew that in order to create the life that I want, I need to double down on discipline. And that's something I haven't done for a long time. I'm a very disciplined person. I think a lot of people who have gone through eating disorders, especially in terms of restricted eating, are in general really disciplined people because we are able to overcome the bodily need and desire by pushing through. So having spent a lot of my youth restricting my eating and not eating for up to a week at a time, I know that I'm able to overcome whatever desires my body has or whatever I feel like doing. So if I set a goal that I want to get up at 4:30 every single day, Monday through Friday, I do that. I know that's not going to be a problem. Once that goal is set, once I know that that's what I want to do, that's not a problem for me. The problem for me is if someone else tries to give me a goal and say, oh, you should do this. So if someone else had come and said, you should get up at 4:30 in the morning, and for me it wouldn't really make a lot of sense, and it's not something that comes from a desire from within. If I don't have it in the context of this is the life that I'm trying to create, then that would not happen. I would not be getting up at 4:30. And that might be one of the reasons if you have tried to do something over and over and over again and you failed, it might be because someone else told you to do that thing. If you're being driven by what other people tell you instead of what you want, it's just not going to work very effectively. But what I do is that I imagine, what does my dream day look like? What do I really want? Like, what would be the best possible day in my life with no restrictions whatsoever? And then I think, okay, this is what I would have had to achieve. This is the kind of person that I would have to be. And this is what I need to do in order to become that person. So discipline is a really, really big factor for me to really double down on my discipline. It means getting up early. It means going to the gym 5-6 days per week. It means following a training program to the T. It means doing cold showers. And for those of you who live in Rwanda, you know that the water doesn't get cold. You know, we don't take like ice cold showers, but it's still uncomfortable, right? It's not the best feeling in the world when that cold water hit you until you just make yourself want to have that experience. So that's another thing for my input goals, what I'm really focused on. is making myself want to do the things that I know that I need to do. So one thing that I know that I need to do is that I need to improve my communication skills, my sales skills, and as I mentioned, strengthen my discipline. And one of the ways that I am improving my communication skills is by showing up and recording YouTube videos 5 days per week. I started out by thinking I'm going to do this once per week. And then I was challenged by someone who was like, why would you do it just once per week? If this is a skill that you want to deliver, if you want to develop the skills, why not do it every single day? And then I agreed with myself I was going to do it 5 days per week. So here we are. And I'm focused on becoming that person because I know that that person is extremely skilled in communication. That person is extremely skilled in sales. And that person is really far in her personal development journey, both in terms of mindset, but also the spiritual element of personal development. I feel like personal development in terms of mindset kind of has a cap to it at some point. And in order for you to expand further, you want to step more into the spiritual realm. Now, I will be very happy to be challenged on this, but it's a very long time ago that someone taught me something mindset that I didn't already know. Like it's so rare that new mindset concepts come in. But then you have new fields such as more in the spiritual realm, such as quantum physics, or it might be even religious. It can be in terms of your emotional capacity to increase your vibration, which is also one of the topics that I talk about a lot. So in terms of goals, figure out how are you best driven. I've never been good at output goals. So for example, I've mentioned several times before that I struggle a lot with my weight my entire life. And I would constantly have this goal about a specific number on the scale or specific measurements, and they just didn't speak to me, because you will reach a plateau at some point in your journey, and then you're going to feel like you're not accomplishing anything, and it becomes frustrating. Whereas if my goal is I'm going to eat this way, and I'm going to show up like this, and I'm going to get up at this time, I'm going to stay hydrated, I'm going to drink this much water, I'm going to train and exercise in this way, then that's something that's very controllable. I can get up every single day and do that thing. And then that is aligned with an output goal. But the output is not the important part. For me, the input is the important part. And if I can make myself want to do the things that I know is connected to something that's much bigger, and I can follow my journey and my progress, and I can get myself to really enjoy and want to do the things that I want to do that is aligned with that outcome, then I feel much more motivated, because it's like a daily checklist. It's not that I write down a checklist and like these are the things that I have to do, but every single day you can celebrate your success because you did something that day which was aligned with the person that you want to become. And the more you start acting like the person that you want to become, the more you feel at home in that identity. I think my dog is going to break into this room shortly. So if you hear like a sound of a door just bashing open, please don't be scared. For me, it's just my dog. So I love celebrating the small wins. I love celebrating the big wins. But when we're output focused, we very often only have the focus on the big win. And if we don't reach that stage, we will feel disappointed. And there's not a lot of flexibility. It's like I have this goal and I have to achieve it. Whereas I'm way more driven by those little steps I take every single day towards becoming the person to whom the output becomes effortless. And I speak a lot about effortlessness because it's really about embodying the person who can just do it without problem. And there's so many things to this. By being disciplined and by being also, I wanted to step more into the identity of someone who executes, someone who gets stuff done without overthinking it and without being stressed about it. And it's really just taking the decision to be like, this is who I am now. You don't necessarily have to do much more than that, because then the next time a decision comes, you're like, is it my new identity or is it my old identity that gets to make this decision? And in my new identity, I just do things without thinking about it too much first. So in my old identity, I would be thinking about doing a masterclass, for example, and it could take me forever to build up what do I want to talk about, and then I have to do some slides, and then I have to do a landing page, and I don't want to do a landing page. It's so boring, and I'm not good at copy, and all of these things that I would put into my head. And it could take me months to get a masterclass done. But last weekend, I woke up with the idea for a masterclass, and then I did a few slides for it, and then I recorded it, and then I uploaded it to a landing page, and it took me maybe 4 hours in total. I just did it with a headache, and even. I had such a burning headache that day, I just did it anyway. Because that was aligned with my new identity. And if you start really stepping into that identity, it's the same when it comes to like health goals. If you want to become that person who eats healthy, then every single time you're faced with an option to eat unhealthy or drink unhealthy stuff, just think to yourself, would my new identity do this? And if it's a no, it's just a no. You don't even have to make that decision. That's not what your new identity is doing. And as I mentioned, the longer you live in your new identity, the more it feels like home. So once you're faced with that decision, one day your old identity doesn't even have a voice anymore. Another example is that today I make my own mayonnaise. I'm European, I need my mayonnaise, and I don't eat eggs, so I can't just buy mayonnaise. And I used to find it to be such a daunting task and such a difficult task. I had it in my head that it was hard to make mayonnaise, and you had to get it just right, and it would never end up the exact way that I wanted it, and it would never really taste as good as I wanted it to taste. And today I was just like, I just did it, and it took me a few minutes, and I stopped overthinking it. And afterwards I was like, why did I ever think this was hard? And why did I always mess it up? It's so easy, it's so simple. I just did it because I had decided that that would no longer be a problem for me. It's literally it takes a few minutes, and the old me would postpone and procrastinate. And before you know it, the oil that I had bought to make that mayonnaise would have been used for something else, and I would be, going into my victim about, oh, how come you use my oil for other things? It's like, there's oil in the kitchen, people are going to use it, And I would keep just postponing and procrastinating and not getting things done. And I made the decision that my future self has nothing to do with a procrastinator. It is a disciplined executor. And even though I have spent most of my life telling myself and telling other people, I'm not an executor, I don't get things done, I'm the brain behind, I can strategize and I can do these things and I can delegate, I can tell other people to do it, but I still didn't get anything done. And I still didn't delegate stuff. Because you really need to become the executor before you can fully and properly delegate to other people. You need to have been through that before you can give it to someone else. So I just decided that this is who I am now. And every single day I do something that is aligned with my new identity, and I get to celebrate that. So I'm way more focused on input goals because I just feel so driven by them. But as I said, if output goals are good for you, do that. But don't make them reasonable. Don't make them fit into your current identity. If you're going to have an output goal, make it so big that you have to either partner with someone else to get it done, or you need to develop new skills to get it done, or you need to, again, become a new person to get that done. If you're going to set output goals, make them so big that your current identity and in your own capacity, you can't reach them. Make them so big that you don't know how to get there. Make them so big that it's not obvious to you what are you going to do to reach it. Because that's when you make room for magic. That's when you can create space for something incredible to happen. And that's what goals really are for. It's to make it much bigger and make it much more interesting. And to really push yourself in life. If you're going to set up a goal that is so aligned with who you already are now, then you're not going to get stretched. You're not going to embody a new identity. You're not going to move yourself. You're not going to develop or grow. So instead of thinking, what can I achieve in my current capacity with which deadline? Make it much bigger, or make the deadline shorter, or do something that kind of pushes that goal, pushes you into that goal of achieving that goal. And if you're driven by output goals, just make it huge. Make it so big that people are going to think you're crazy. And make it one of those goals you don't want to say them out loud because you know that people are going to think you're crazy. And then once you've set that goal and you've set the deadline, make sure you make it so timed, like you know when is the deadline for this goal. If it's outputs, Put a specific deadline and make it very, very specific. How do you know that you've reached this goal? So put down descriptions that show, in order for me to have reached this goal, I will have achieved X, Y, Z, and then put that down along with your deadline. And eventually you can start talking about it because you get more and more into that goal and you start embodying that goal, and you realize that you're going to need somebody else's help if you're going to reach that goal. Either if it's a coach or a partner, you know that you're going to have to step in and do something different. So that's for output goals. Some people are really driven by that. It just doesn't work for me. I find them kind of annoying, even when people try to like push me, oh no, you should have these goals. You should have these goals. I'm like, why? I don't need these goals. I need input goals. That's what I want. I want to focus on my identity because my work is in transformation. It is in identity shifting. If I would have been all about life goals in terms of outputs, then I would be a life goal coach, but I'm not. It just doesn't interest me that much. It interests me much more to look at who do you need to become for this goal to become the reality? And then how do you now change? And then we're back at the inputs. There's other people who do like feeling goals, and these are very fluffy, but I kind of like them still. And it practically gets down to, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel on a daily basis? And what do I need to do in order to feel that way? So you really focus and you tune into your emotions and your vibration, and you identify, these are all of the things right now that are draining me. These are all of the things that are kind of pulling me down. These are all of the things that make me feel not very good. And on the other hand, these are all of the things that make me feel excellent. And these are all of the things that would make me feel incredible if I had access to it. And then you start changing who you are based on how you want to feel. So if you have a goal that you want to wake up every single morning feeling absolutely amazing, joyful, grateful, gratitude, so you can start really paying attention to, how do I feel and how do I want it to change? So that comes back to my work again, right? Discover who you are now and discover who do you want to be, and get really, really clear on those, and then figure out how to close that gap. And it sounds so simple, but it's actually very complex work because we often don't know how we feel. We often don't know who we are. And that's what makes it difficult. We need that internal constant reflection and that internal constant work and paying attention to, what are my thoughts like and how do my thoughts make me feel? What are my actions like and how do my actions make me feel? When am I present in myself and when am I distracted? And why am I so obsessed with being distracted all the time, which most of us are? Because we don't want to sit and just feel whatever we're feeling. Because there's so much unprocessed wounds and experiences within us. There is so much programming that is misaligned with who we deeply are inside, that we barely even know who we are. We just know who we're supposed to be and who we think we're supposed to be. And that person is so misaligned with who we really want to be, and therefore we want to get distracted. So we don't have to face the fact that we don't feel like the person we're trying to show up as, and that person we're trying to show up as is so inauthentic that we can barely even stay in that space. It's so hard for us to show up as that person. So I would love to know in the chat, do you have any questions or comments or something that you want for me to expand on? Because the last time your comments came in just as I hit end recording, and I think it would have been so good for other people to get some of that dialogue. So please, if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. And also, if you don't have anything, if you're just like, oh, this session was great, I don't have any questions or comments or anything, just put it in the chat so I know. So at least I know. I would love to hear from you. Because if not, we are going to, let's say I did actually have something from last time as well. I'd like to change my daily routine, and now you are procrastinating. So that kind of comes back to what I spoke earlier about in this video, is making the decision of who are you going to be and then sticking to it. The thing is also, if we make a decision about who we're going to be and then sticking to it, then we are showing up for ourselves. And showing up for ourselves is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. Showing up for yourself builds the confidence that you need in order to achieve the great things in life. And that means doing things even when they're hard, even when they feel hard. Once I make the decision to step into the new identity of becoming someone else who can do hard things, those things no longer feel hard because I just do them without thinking about it. It becomes a non-negotiable. I don't even think about, should I really get up at 4:30 today? No, you have to get up every day at 4:30. So it's not a question. I don't have that dialogue. The alarm rings, I get up. I stop taking out the part where I think that there could be a different direction. I no longer think, should I just stay in bed for another hour or two? I don't even think that. And when you take that part out of the equation, it makes everything so simple and easy. You just know that, no, I'm the person who gets up at 4:30, so I'm going to do that. And that also means I go to bed at 8 p.m. I'm like in my bed with a book at 8 p.m. because I know that I like to sleep a lot. I need at least 7, if not 8 hours of sleep to feel good throughout the day. So I just go to bed early because I know I want to get up at 4:30. It's just a non-negotiable. The part you talk about how I wish my day would look like. Yes, exactly. You need to just think about, what do you want a perfect day to look like? For me, there's so much traveling involved in my everyday, which means that I need to have the flexibility to just be able to get up and leave whenever I want. And I need to have the finances to make sure that that can happen, that I can just go and live and travel in the places that I want to go to. I don't want to have a life where I have to constantly be restricted by what can I afford today. I don't want to be restricted by, if I want to go to the beach, I want to be able to wear a bikini and feel amazing. But the way that I used to live, it was not aligned with either of those things. So I had to completely change who I was. I spent so much of my life thinking that I could never get in shape and look the way that I wanted to look because I thought that I was just not in a genetic composition. I thought with my genetics, I'm meant to be overweight. That was a story I was telling myself. Oh, I'm supposed to be overweight. And then by telling myself that, I could completely ignore the emotional wounds that I was carrying around that made me overeat and made me binge eat and eat all the things that I knew was so full of calories. The thing is also, for a lot of people who want to lose weight, you already know what you need to do, but your body speaks for you. Your subconscious speaks for you. And when your subconscious is taking action on your behalf, it means that you're no longer in control of your life. And I was not in control of my life because I wouldn't be able to, if I saw ice cream or piece of cake or something, I wouldn't be able to not eat that. I wasn't able to not, just binge eat on whatever was in front of me. And I kept telling myself that there is a freedom for me to be able to do that. There's no freedom when your body speaks for you, when your subconscious speaks for you. That is not freedom. The only way you find freedom is becoming the person who's so much in control of themselves and know who you are that your subconscious is no longer taking the action. You're the one taking the action. You're the one who makes the decision. And whenever I see a piece of cake, so I very rarely eat cake after I went vegan because it's so hard to find vegan cakes and I don't have the patience to bake them myself these days. I'll look at it and I will think, is it really worth it? Is it worth what I want to do? Is it worth the cost? Is it worth the cost of standing in the way between what I want to achieve and now I'm putting in an obstacle to my goal? So let's say if your goal is to lose weight and you know for a fact if you eat this piece of cake, the timeline for which you will achieve your goal, it now expands because you're standing in your own way, you're putting in an obstacle. Is that obstacle worth the cost of postponing what you want to achieve? Is it worth the cost of postponing the things that you want to reach? Do you want to do this thing right now and get immediate gratification so that you can delay what you really want to achieve? Is it worth that cost? And my old self, my old identity would be constantly like, oh, but it's just one more day. It's just, I'm just going to do this for one more day and then I'll get started on Monday. Have you ever tried that? Have you ever tried having goals and you're like, yeah, I'll start tomorrow. Or yeah, I'll start, next week. I'll start whenever. I'll start in January. I'll start, we all have these ideas about when are we going to start our health journey? When are we going to start our wealth journey? When are we going to set those boundaries for our friends or family? And then every time we're faced with a difficult situation, we postpone it, right? So, oh, not today, next time. I used to do that all the time. And guess what? I never achieved any of my goals because there's always tomorrow. And every time you put in tomorrow, you don't achieve your goals. It's such an excuse. You wish you could stop this procrastination? Well, guess what? You can. You have to make that decision. And what you can do is that you can figure out, why is it that I'm procrastinating so much? Maybe the thing that you're telling yourself that you want to do, you don't actually want to do it. Maybe you think you want to do something, but you don't actually want to do it. We do that. We very often think we need to do things, but it's been put on us by somebody else. Someone else has given us the idea that we need to achieve that. That could be one thing. Another thing could be that you don't see the clear connection between getting that thing done today and then achieving that goal. You don't see yourself having achieved that goal. If you start truly visualizing, okay, this is the goal that I want to achieve, and you just see yourself there. You spend every single morning, you see yourself having achieved that goal, and you realize this is what I need to do and this is who I need to be in order to achieve that goal. And you show up every single day as the person who can achieve that goal, as a person who is a match to that goal, as a person that's going to show up and make the decisions that are aligned with that goal. Once you start putting those together, procrastination is not a thing anymore. Because guess what? The people who achieve incredible things, they don't waste their time procrastinating. It could also be that there's some deep emotional wounds that you haven't healed about your sense of self-worth. Some people have really big goals, and then deep down, they don't feel like they deserve those goals. They don't feel like they deserve to achieve it. They don't feel like they're a match to that goal. And so they don't show up for themselves. There's so many different things that could be standing in the way from where you are to where you want to go. But showing up as the person who can achieve it is the first step. You decide, this is what I'm going to be doing now. This is who I am now. And as I mentioned, that decision becomes so easy. Every single decision you make about how you spend your energy and your time every single day becomes aligned with the person that you need to be to achieve those goals. And all of the excuses that you want to give yourself and all of the things the stories that you're telling yourself that is no longer aligned with the person you know you need to be, you reset that right in the moment. And that also means becoming really, really, truly aware of how are my thoughts and my patterns misaligned with who I need to be, and then catching them as they come. So again, I really like to use health and weight loss as an example, or like getting in shape, getting fit as an example, because it's something that most people can relate to, right? We've all experienced that, I want to get healthier, and then like a cake or, your favorite food or something else that you shouldn't be eating or doing or drinking, it shows up. And then who we are at that moment, whether or not we're going to indulge or whether we're going to go for a long-term goal, it shows us who we are, right? There's so many people who want to get fit, get healthy, get in shape. And every single day they say, I'm going to go to the gym on Monday. And then Monday comes and goes. And then you just continue saying, oh, next Monday. But guess what? If you don't change who you are, it will only ever be next Monday. You will never get into now is the time. And if you become that person who is a match to the goal that you want to achieve, then you don't need to wait for Monday. You start now. Right now. There's no Monday. You just get started. So think about your goals. Think about who you want to be. Think about who is a match to that goal. And then become that person. Start practicing those skills. Start building those networks. Start doing the things that are uncomfortable. So if for example, like what I did, I knew that discipline was a non-negotiable for me in my new identity. Then I thought of, okay, what are all the things that kind of speak discipline to me? It's consistency, showing up consistently. It's getting up early. It's going to the gym. It's eating right, the way that I know that I want to eat. And many of these things, they're so personal. So you really need to just sit and focus on, who is this person that I want to be? And as you grow, you realize, I'm so far from that person, even as I show up, right? You start showing up and you start realizing, oh, there's still all of these gaps. You identify more and more gaps in how you think and what you believe and the things that you do and how you spend your time and how you eat and how you behave and the people you hang out with and how you work and your ideas around integrity and ethics and morals. And there's just so many things that start appearing to you, like, okay, all of these things are a mismatch between who I am now and who I want to be. But once you start taking the steps, it becomes more and more clear to you, okay, this is where I'm falling short. And these are the things that I need to do in order to show up as my next level. It's very, very rare that even if we sit down and we think all that we can about this future person that we know that we need to become, that we actually have a full idea of who that person is. And the more you start hanging out with people who've already achieved the things that we want to achieve, the more we realize, okay, these are all the gaps. So for me, when I wanted to get in shape, I thought I just had to show up, 5, 6 days per week as a healthy person. And I would just walk around with all of these cravings, and I would not eat the things that I wanted to eat. And I would like force myself to go to the gym even when I didn't want to. And then I would indulge fully on that 1 day per week. And then I realized a truly healthy person, a truly fit person, doesn't need that day of indulging because they understand the impact it has on their body. And they don't actually like the feeling of having those sugar highs and feeling completely overfed and just lying on the couch all day. They want to get out and move their bodies, and they want to experience what a healthy body feels like, which means that they don't have these cravings. And my cravings were so psychological because I used like eating and binging as an emotional band-aid on the wounds that I hadn't healed. And once I started healing those wounds, it became much more effortless for me to just show up as a healthy person because I didn't need that emotional wound to be covered up anymore with food. But I didn't realize how different I was from the healthy people, the truly fully healthy people, until I started hanging out with them. So when they say that your network is your net worth, it is so true and so for so many different reasons. One being that you experience how these people show up. So if you have goals that you want to achieve, start hanging out and finding ways to hang out with and have conversation with the people who've already achieved it. And when you do that, you start really seeing the gap between who you need to be and who you are now. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to let go of your core values. Your core values are still very, very important. What is important to you, like deep down, shouldn't change just because you need to become a different version of you. So really figure out who is it that you want to be from your integrity and ethical, moral perspective. What are the things that are important to you in life? It can be things like time freedom, money freedom. It can be having a life where you don't feel constrained in any way. If those are really important to you, make sure that the life that you build is a match to that. But also make sure that it doesn't come from a place of scarcity or lack or old wounds. Hanging out with the people that are where you want to be. Where do healthy people hang out? At the gym. Healthy people hang out at the gym. Very often at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. You could also get a personal trainer. Someone who has helped train a lot of healthy people. So yeah, for me also, I really wanted to become a way more successful, emotionally healthy. Well, there is the Kigali Health Hub here in Kigali, Wellness Hub, something like that. You will find a lot of people in these types of spaces that care about wellness and emotional healing. It can even be towards more like spiritual, maybe not spiritual, might not be the right place. or the right word, because you can still go to spiritual places with people who are not emotionally healthy. I've seen it. But you can also create your own spaces, right? You can go out and say, okay, these are the topics that I want to talk about. This is what I want to achieve. Can I want to connect with someone who has been through this, someone who's gone to therapy, someone who has, overcome these and those things. The vision board session was amazing. Yes. So in places like that, you're going to find people who care a lot about personal development. So that's a great place to meet people who want to do better, who are into personal development. And those people have very often worked on their emotional health. There are still a lot of very personally developed people who have not healed their wounds. So it really, for me, it's about starting. If you don't know where to find your people, start talking about what is it that you want to achieve and what is important to you. And then slowly you will see that people who have the same types of feelings and want the same things, they start gravitating to you. You might even also find a mentor that way. Someone who's like, I've been through this. I did that. I used to feel exactly how you feel, and now I've reached this and that stage. So it really depends what it is that you want to achieve. For me, I really wanted to improve in terms of like marketing, communication, sales, business, and I started attending conferences and attending virtual training programs, group programs, and now you find all of these people who want to achieve the same things, and you have different levels of people who've done different things. And before you know it, I was in rooms with people who make plus $10 million per year, right? They're making millions every month, and I'm just like, wow. That is incredible. And then I start being faced, they work as a mirror to you, right? I start being faced with all of the things that they do in terms of their consistency and their determination that I wasn't doing. I wasn't showing up for myself and my business. I treated my business as a side project. I treated it as a hobby. Guess what? If your business is treated like a hobby, it will remain a hobby. It will be cute, right? If you want a business that is flourishing and that is having real impact, you need to take it seriously as a business that has real impact. You need to show up for your business. You need to treat it like your baby, not like your hobby. You need to treat it like something that you're so serious about, you're going to show up for it every single day. So now when people tell me, oh, I see you all the time, you're out here doing all of these things, I'm like, I needed to do more. Because I was in that room with people who make 8 figures per year, and they see the way that I show up for my business as being not enough. So not until I saw those mirrors. And it's the same if you want to get into health. Once you see that mirror of someone who's actually living a healthy life, you start seeing all of the decisions that they make without even thinking about it and how far they are from where you are. Yeah, we're gonna have to do another vision board session, definitely. I'll talk to Nikki. It was a really good session. She's incredible. But yeah, and that's another person who's very serious about her business, right? If you know Dominique, she's very, very serious about her business. And she's been in business for almost a decade. And the way she shows up for her business is very serious. So she's also a great mirror for me sometimes to just be like, okay, I need to be reminded that we gotta go all in on this thing. And it's so helpful. It's so helpful to just be around people who achieve incredible things in the arena that you want to achieve incredible things. And once you become aware of the fact that your identity needs to start matching theirs, you start paying way more attention to what is their identity actually like. Who is this person? How do they spend their time? How do they spend their energy? What is important to them? There's one guy when I go to these events, which is like full of incredible business owners. He's always late because he has a non-negotiable. He has a non-negotiable every single morning for his team meeting and for his going live with his community. So he will show up late, and in the beginning I was like, why is this guy so not serious? He is just more serious about his business than anything else. So I started really seeing that. I started seeing people who showed up for themselves in their community and serving in such a high capacity for their team and their community that nothing that they wanted to do would overshadow that. And when you start showing up like that, it's just a matter of time before you achieve the things that you want to achieve. So find people that can act as this mirror to you. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, find the person who's already done it and pay attention to how they show up, how they interact, what their values are, how they make decisions, how they just like, you just feel their vibe sometimes, right? How do they get into, when they step into a room, what do you feel? Right? What is in the meter of like from zero to Beyonce? Where are they? Right? How are they entering a room? How do they talk to people? I was actually really surprised the first time I got into this room with these exceptionally successful entrepreneurs. I was so surprised to see how extremely humble they all were. And when I spoke to them, their attention would be right here. They wouldn't be distracted by all of these things over here. They would be like, yes, how may I help you? What do you want to talk about today? I was so surprised because I thought you had to have like this level of arrogance. And they just didn't. I know of course, some business owners are super arrogant, and that's fine. But the kind of person that I want to be, I want to always show up for my community. I want to always show up for my people. And I want kindness to be one of the absolute core values. That's something that my grandmother taught me, the one who recently passed away. She showed me so much. When it comes to kindness, is one of the greatest things that she taught me. She was kind to and about people she didn't know. She had such a big heart for people, no matter where they came from, no matter what they went through, no matter who they are. She would have such a big heart for them. And that is something that I admired in her so much, that kindness is going to be my thing forever. I don't ever want to let go of that. And that's when I say stay true to your core values. Stay true to who you want to be deep inside, even if sometimes it may conflict with the people that you see who achieve things. So if you only look at like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and they kind of show up in a way that feels arrogant, doesn't mean that you have to be arrogant. It doesn't even mean that they are necessarily arrogant. This means that's the vibe that they give out sometimes. You don't have to have their vibe. You just need to have their non-negotiables. You need to have their standards. You need to have their boundaries. So yeah, we kind of digressed a little bit here and there. I think this has been a great session, huh? Have you enjoyed? Let me know. Do you have any more questions before I close down for today? Is there anything around goals that you feel like I haven't really touched on yet? Is there anything that you're still not fully clear on? Is there anything that you feel like, I really want to do this thing and I don't know how to do it? Put it in the chat. I want to hear from you. I know that you have to type also. It's going to take a second. But if not, we're just going to close by saying, make sure you pay attention to what kind of goal makes sense for you, instead of what kind of goal has other people and other books told me that I'm supposed to have. How you feel about your goal and what motivates you the most in terms of that goal and what scares you a little bit, those are the goals that you want to do. You don't necessarily want to do a specific type of goal just because someone else told you. Like I said, output goals for me is just, I just don't feel it. Doesn't wake anything in me. I don't necessarily see the connection between me and that output. It's not until I do the work to figure out what is the identity, and then what is the daily life of that person, and then who do I need to become, then I start seeing the connections. So input goals for me are way more important. And feeling goals. Feeling good. I want to feel incredible all the time, every single day. And that's why the things that make me feel unincredible, not because I feel triggered. Triggers are good. Triggers are amazing. They teach us a lot about ourselves. That doesn't mean that you need to be around people who just trigger you for whatever reason all the time, but be aware of what your triggers are and why you're triggered, and see if there's something that you can heal. Because the more that we're driven by unhealed emotional wounds, the further away we are from becoming the ideal person who can achieve the most amazing life you want. Okay, well, I guess we're done for today. Thank you so much. This has been a great session. Thank you for the engagement. I appreciate this so much. And I hope you have an incredible week, and I will see you all on Wednesday next week. Thank you. Bye. And yeah, this will be on YouTube, so make sure you go check out my channel if you haven't. I do upload videos on the other days as well, which may be helpful to you. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.